Without Namekians, Dragon Ball wouldn't be a thing. Nor would their universe be anything like we see. We actually owe a lot to them. Hey folks, MasakoX here. Today's video is all about the tallest and most loyal Dragon Team member you can think of. That is indeed Piccolo. But we are also going to be specifically focusing on the people he had no idea that he was affiliated with until Nappa blurted it out to him during the Saiyan saga. The Namekians. From your big greens through to your little greens and of course your demon kings, Namekians do come in a variety of shapes and forms over the years. You could say that there are as many Namekians as there are types of musical instruments, which is what their name puns are derived from, by the way. But today, we are going to try and cover most of them and talk about our favourite type of slug person. I'm sure that some of the stuff that we're going to be covering now will be pretty obvious for the more seasoned Dragon Ball fans out there, but still, for the sake of everybody, let's cover the basics, shall we? So that everything is in one complete package. Let's begin. Namekians, or Namekuseijin, literally people from planet Namek, are a people inhabiting planet Namek. Simple start, right? They are able to create their own Dragon Balls, gaining that secret by apparently gathering pieces of the original Super Dragon Balls and it eventually, over time, evolved into them. This tidbit is relatively new to the lore coming from Dragon Ball Super, which we think does give Namekians quite a big standing in the universe for sure. However, whilst this statement wasn't fully confirmed from Universe 7's Namekians, it's mostly a Universe 6 thing, we can safely assume that this is still the case in the twin universes, since the traits of those two is that they're very closely connected, only with some slight opposite changes. They also have a slug-like characteristic, like antennae, self-fertilization, and of course the ability to lay eggs. Through the mouth this time, which does seem a little weird for most people. But also, most of them are comparable in height to regular Earthlings, but we have seen taller specimen, namely Guru and King Piccolo, and especially Piccolo, who comes in at about 7 foot tall. Clearly the tallest Dragon Team member. They also have a very good sense of hearing when it fits into the narrative. Could have been useful in other circumstances, but hey, I guess Piccolo needed to have his ears syringed at the time, right? They can also stretch their limbs, grow them back with their regenerative abilities, that one being their most well-recognised trait. Very, very spectacular though, and convenient, but hey, it makes for a good shot when things are a little bit dull. Just, oh yeah, roar! Yeah, that always gets people pumped. A lot of the time, people assume that Namekians can only drink water. And whilst Piccolo was never seen to be imbibing or eating anything else in Dragon Ball Z, this fasting has softened over the years. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, for example, revealed that the Namekians are able to enjoy a wide variety of liquids, including milk in particular, which would mean that they are lactose tolerant. The fact that they are still able to consume solid foods may also mean that the whole water thing is a relatively late adaptation in their evolution, as it seems that they still have enzymes in their digestive system that means that they can process food. I suppose it has something to do with the cataclysm they had a few hundred years ago. They needed to scrape through with the barest of essentials, water being quite plentiful. Also, we do see Piccolo eating at the end of the Resurrection F arc, confirming this game factoid is now in the lore. This does normalise Piccolo, or, you know, Toriyama didn't bother to figure out how slug digestive systems actually work, but hey, finding lore reasons is just more fun, honestly. Many readers were asking if Namekians are, in fact, plants, but Toriyama gave a pretty definitive response in July 2006. Actually, that's quite a rarity, Toriyama giving something quite definitive. Several readers have asked if Namekians are plants. Of course, based on their names, they seem to be slugs, but they are green, they have a strange method of reproduction, and they live on water. Toriyama's response? That's a tough question. I thought of Piccolo first, and I wanted to draw him as a scary character, and it was only afterwards that I had to come up with this species. Since they have antennae, I thought they looked like slugs, so Namekian is a play on words, but I didn't think too deeply about it. The word for slug in Japanese is namekuji. I don't think they're plants, but they may be hermaphrodites. But as we all know, they possess the physical traits of human males. But we should be reminded that this Toriyama allows the possibility of them not being exclusively male, but in fact being hermaphroditic in nature. It is a difference, but it clears a common misconception. And granted, This does leave the door open, in theory, for there to be a creation of a more feminine Namekian in terms of physical stature, potentially for alternative universes. I actually remember a very good piece of fan art from Sayacon a couple of years ago about that chestnut. It does actually work, but for now, we reckon that the Dragon Room for official stuff will stick to the status quo. I mean, that's what they like to do nearly all the time anyway, so why would they change now? Still though, the wording implies that the author might have given it just maybe a fleeting thought, though, before dismissing it. Their reproduction method seems similar to parthenogenesis, as they spit eggs out of their mouths. And despite this system seeming to be asexual in nature and culturally limited to Namekians in power, the parents have some sort of control of the child's type and physical traits, which means that Namekians, while similar to each other, are rarely identical. They're just more subtle differences is all. Also, they seem to raise children together as one social unit around a village rather than as individual parental units, like tribes or mini-societies, because villages are separated by great distances and they don't often communicate save for like telepathic connections in a case of an emergency. We also know that there are very strong telepathic connections between parents and children, and that even a Namekian so ancient and old as Guru can still reproduce, though he has tasked younger generations in raising them. There is also the whole reincarnation thing, but we don't know if it's a unique ability to Namekians or whether it was something that was exclusive only to King Piccolo and the unique status of the nameless Namekian, with more hints pointing towards the latter in our own opinion. Like Katas was an anomaly, an evolution, a mutant from the conventional example. Namekians also possess a pretty long lifespan, as Guru was able to naturally survive for 500 years. Also in Dragon Ball Online, which is set about roughly 200-250 years from Dragon Ball Super and the end of Z, and even GT, Piccolo is still around, and he doesn't look like he's gotten darker green skin, which means that he's probably middle-aged, but he's still got another couple of centuries in him. In fact, that's actually kind of sad. Piccolo from the Dragon team, he's the only one still alive from that original gang. Oh man, he must be lonely. I mean, hey, he always has Tom. But before we talk about the clans and types, it's important to note that it's strongly implied that before the cataclysm on Namek, in which the violent storms wiped out almost every Namekian in existence except for Guru, the Namekians were hinted to be a pretty advanced race, capable of space travel, and even recognised by Saiyans. They were sort of like a benevolent collective who was seen as ambitious, peaceful, and on the whole, unlikely to be going for galactic conquest. Harmless. It is also important to note that this cataclysm occurred in age 261, so there might be some spacefaring Namekians out there, albeit they're probably quite ancient by now, and most likely scattered so far away from their homeworld that they assume it's completely desolate and destroyed. They may have just settled somewhere else and have their own clans. We don't really know, because it's not very likely that Vegeta and Nappa would be aware of Guru and one of his 109 children, which were at the time the entire population on Namek. Namekians are quite good at hiding themselves, so I doubt that they would have come across any. But we're moving too much into speculation territory for now. Let's focus on the main topic here, which is Namekian types or clans. We are pretty sure that you guys know about the two main types that are more commonly known in the Dragon Ball media: Dragon Clan members and Warrior Clan members. Let's start with the Dragon Clan members. They are the mystics and wizards of the Namekian race, the cleric. They are the ones capable of creating their own sets of Dragon Balls, as well as being able to tap into healing. In the Dragon Ball Online timeline, which by the way Toriyama himself penned, so there is some kind of crumb of legitimacy here, they also can follow two secondary careers. The Dende Priest, which allows them to walk the same path as Dende, healing like Super Kami Dende himself, or the Poco Priest, which can birth eggs, create more Namekians, and allows them to summon monsters, not unlike King Piccolo. At the time of the Namek saga, there were 92 Dragon Clan members on Namek, but other notable ones would include both King Piccolo and Kami, as they both split from the nameless Namekian. There's Dende as well, Elder Mori, and later in Dragon Ball Super, Eska, who debuted in the Moro arc as Mori's designated successor, albeit in a couple of centuries most likely, so don't assume that we're going to see a passing of the torch. We're not going to be seeing Elder Eska anytime soon. Now, the Warrior Clan members. Obviously less numerous than the Dragon Clan since they're mostly peaceful. Well, at least in Universe 7. The manga had originally stated that Nail was the only one present in the Namek saga, but Daizenshu later retconned that statement and pointed out that there were 14 more as well. The anime echoed this sentiment, but reduced the number, showing that Nail had about 7 assistants. 3 fighting Frieza in Mori's village, the other 3 at Guru's place, and 1 more on New Namek in The Return of Cooler. One sad note though is that they seem to be the Dragon Ball equivalent of red shirts, usually being snubbed out to make a point of a villain's strength. Think Moro, not just Frieza. We also know that by the time of the Galactic Prisoner arc, Mori was busy creating new warrior clan Namekians at a good click. There was at least a dozen by that point, as they were tasked into fusing into the Namekian savior. Other notable warrior clan members are Nail, Piccolo Jr., which is pretty curious when considering the whole reincarnation shtick, and of course Lord Slug. It's also safe to assume that Universe 6 has a pretty healthy amount of warrior clan members that fused into Pilina and Salnel. Now, Masako, can there be Namekians that possess traits from both clans? Well, it's pretty inconclusive, as we don't see Piccolo using Kami's powers, which would mean that he is still mainly a warrior clan member. He admits that he can't make Dragon Balls or heal, so we have to assume that Kami's specialties and traits are laying dormant in his body. Although, if we were to believe Dragon Ball GT, Kami and Piccolo's fusion reawakened the Black Star Dragon Balls, which were created by the nameless Namekian, made inactive of course by his split. This is also still inconclusive though, as GT seems to be the only source that even remotely hints at that possibility. But we still have 3 more clans to talk about actually. It's not just those 2, as is commonly thought. The third one, mentioned only in Dragon Ball Fusions, great game by the way, is called the Worker Clan member. The only known member to be actually named, Trombon, studied strange arts in the demon realm, and his type is thought to be a labourer or craftsman type of Namekian, like a worker ant. Something that might have been lost with the Cataclysm in fact. Perhaps the Warrior and Dragon Clan members are deemed as the most important members to have when populations are low, in order to restore the Namekian people. Maybe when their populace is more substantial, more plentiful, other clan types can be made to further redevelop Namek into the society it once was. Another clan are Dark Namekians from Dragon Ball Online, considering themselves to be successors to the Demon Clan of King Piccolo. Think a variation also of the evil Namekians that Lord Slug descended into. They even have their own eternal dragon, called Mr. Poco Poco, and are in league with the Time Breakers. Now speaking of the OG Demon Clan, I bet very few of you actually know that those demonic Namekian spawns are known as Dark Vassals, which were warped into horrible mutants by the evil spirit of King Piccolo. So it does mean actually they were able to retcon the fact that King Piccolo's children look nothing like him. Although if you did watch our demon video from the other week, you might realise that we think that a special theoretical type of demon key might have been involved in the process as well. With Tambourine, Cymbal and Drum being the best known members, and children of Piccolo of course, those horrifying mutants were terrorising planet Earth in the King Piccolo saga. Also, it's worth noting that they possess some draconic features that may or may not connect them to the dragon god Zalama, as we love to speculate. We aren't really sure of Zalama's character yet, other than his name and his job. Some speculating, including myself, that he was the first Namekian, similar in status to them like Yamoshi is to Saiyans, and his Super Dragon Balls were the first ones ever created. All Namekians are, in theory, descendants from him. Yeah, we think it's a very good theory though, and we really hope it's true. Namekians also have different forms, with the most notable one, at least in the main canon, being a Super Namekian, called as such by Krillin, as well as various degrees of gigantification. There is also a dub-specific type of Namekians connected to Lord Slug, also called Super Namekians, but it is worth noting that this is only a translator thing. It wasn't in the original sub, not a proper separate entity. So there it is. We are aware that this isn't our first video about Namekians, but so far it feels like the most complete one. A 2021 update if you would. So what did you folks think? Have you enjoyed our little big green journey as much as we did? What else do you feel connects Namekians to the overall story? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!